Okay, so I was right. This is the peace sign. There's some other sign, I think. I don't know. But this is the peace sign, so I was right. Anyway, this is the third video for my War and Peace edition of my video blog about religion and ethics. And I wanted to get onto the subject of 9/11 conspiracies. Yay! Because in many people's opinion, especially my family's opinion, I am a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. Not conspirator. That would be bad. I'm a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. Because I don't believe the official story. I've heard plenty of stories, and some stories that are out there are a little bit crazy, and you kind of wonder how people come up with these ideas. Oh, the aliens are behind 9/11. Oh, the Jews are behind 9/11. Stupid craziness. But I don't believe the official story. I don't think that everything that we're told is true. You never know, really. But the thing about the official story is that a lot of it didn't add up. And one of the things is the collapse of the Twin Towers after the plane crash. The planes crashed into the buildings. When the buildings collapsed, they pancaked. They came smashing down as if, you know, a giant mountain fell on them, you know. And it was just so illogical that buildings could come down in that way. I didn't think about it at the time. I was 16 years old, so, you know, I didn't really think about the logic of it. But the buildings came down so fast. And people say, oh, well, it was a structural fire. But these are big, tall, strong buildings. And I'm not a scientist, but it doesn't take a scientist to realize that that's just not normal. That doesn't happen. Ever. That's the first time in history that has happened, that a building has come crashing down like that fast from a fire. From just a fire. And on top of that, there was another building nearby, Building 7, that came crashing down too. And that plane didn't have an airplane crash into it. That building didn't have an airplane crash into it. So it just magically fell to the ground. Woo, magic. No. That's not okay. Something happened with that building. Was there a third plane? We never saw or heard of it, a third plane crashing into that building, so how did it come down? In the exact same way as the other two buildings. So it doesn't take a scientist, it doesn't take an engineer to see that there's something not quite right about that. And I had a discussion with my brother about this. We got into a big, huge argument because he is in the military. He's pro-military, pro-war, blah, 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 yada, yada. And so he was like, oh, well, you didn't go to college, and you're not a scientist, and you don't know. No. I don't have to go to college. I don't have to have an architectural engineering degree, you know, to know that there's something not right with that picture. And that logic, the logic that buildings crash, you know, buildings falling to the ground because an airplane flew into the top stories of those buildings, that the buildings would crash completely to the ground down to the bottom stories, and that a nearby building came crashing down just because of being close by. No, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's common sense. I'm sorry, You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon or whatever. You don't have to have a PhD in architectural engineering to know that there's something not right about that picture that was painted about 9/11 in the Twin Towers, and what happened. My 6 and 8-year-old kids could tell you that buildings don't just fall down. They don't just magically fall down. Something has to happen, you know. So, Building 7 magically falling to the ground just simply because of being nearby. And the excuse that my brother used is, oh, well, that building was really close. Really? What about the other zillions of buildings around? Why didn't they fall down? You know, explain to me the logic of that. No. So, in addition to that, there are so many other stories and inconclusive things and weirdness about the official story and what happened on that day and days leading up to that day and so forth. The whole thing about the war on terror being declared within a short amount of time, the whole thing about, you know, going to war in Iraq and Afghanistan within a short period of time afterwards. There's something going on there. And I can't say what, I don't know what, but it just seemed very convenient that we were attacked, supposedly, by terrorists from the Arab world, supposedly, and within a short amount of time we were declaring a war on terror. And so, another thing is that with the close proximity to all the military bases, there's military bases in New York State, military bases in different states around D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Delaware. There's so many bases within a close proximity, and fighter planes on those bases that could have gone and prevented things from happening, intercepted the planes, and that didn't happen. Not only did that not happen, but a good deal of the fighter jets from the nearby military bases were conveniently, I should say, sent elsewhere a short period of time before 9/11. And in addition to that, the military was conducting these war games with a similar type scenario of terrorists crashing planes into buildings. So I think people should look into that, because that seems highly suspect. Like, why would the military be doing that? And so I suggest researching. I'm not going to go too much into the conspiracy theories, but there's a lot there that doesn't add up, and I think people that want to know the truth should search it out and research and figure out what's what they believe and what they don't believe. And what they don't believe, should find out why it is that you don't believe that and what could be the reasons. So, all that being said, wars that are unnecessary are wrong, in my opinion. And wars that are unprovoked are wrong. Patriotism to the extent of being racist and nationalist, to the point of wanting to blow other people off the face of the planet, is wrong and evil. To think that as an American that we're superior to every other country and every other race is fucked up. It is. And part of the reason why I've come to this conclusion is not only because it's logical and it's right, but I've lived in other countries in the world. I've grown up, so to speak. I lived a lot of places when I was a kid. I've traveled a lot, and so I've been to other countries, and it gives me a little more perspective about nationalism and patriotism. And yes, it's good to love your country, the country of which you're a citizen, but if it's to the extent of hating people from other nations and other cultures and other creeds, that is evil and that's wrong. So that's the end of my war, ethics, religion and ethics videos. And so I'm going to touch on other subjects in other videos. But I hope you enjoyed, and please don't hate me. I'm really not a crazy. I may be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not a bad person, and I'm not a crazy, in spite of what some people might think. So, thank you, and have a good night.